Good morning, everyone. Good evening if you're in this part of the world. Carol, I saw you on here. I got on here a couple minutes early and you're on there already bringing light to the chat. I love it. Thank you. Today's been such a beautiful, actually, I want to make a note, such a beautiful day, I have to tell you. I'll share a couple little nuggets of my storehouse stories is what I'm liking the name of, but just sharing how the storehouse is showing up for me particularly. And it's interesting how it does show up. And I'm sharing because I think we are all being trained to look at all the ways the storehouse delivers in our lives. So lots to talk about today, but first and foremost, I want to just mention that it is, in some traditions in the world, it is Good Friday. I think it's Passover. It starts today. I believe that's accurate. I know it starts soon. It's Holy Week. This is Holy Week. Many traditions this is a have hold this time sacred. And although I no longer subscribe to traditional religions, and many people in our community don't, there is a very sacred there is a very sacred uh, piece, a very sacred piece of the puzzle to this time of year. So there is no coincidence that many of the offshoots of spirituality that we now call religion adopted this time to be holy in their beliefs. We have gotten hit by two solar flares today, which is going to be giving us quite a bit of an upgrade in consciousness. And this is an active time. This is an active time in our solar cycle for solar flares, for solar activity to be heightened, which then invites in major changes to us. But that's why over thousands of years, this time has revolved around the sacred nature of the solar cycle. But that piece of religion has been removed, has been hidden, and it kind of adopted on a little 1 degree to the left or right of that the truth of the origins of spirituality. And so we got a little off track, but we're coming back. And what I love and what I appreciate so much about this 90 days is what I finally was walking around town today and I got the gist of it. And the gist of it is that this is not a training on giving us new knowledge. We don't need new knowledge. The knowledge comes in from these solar waves. And when we get an influx of these waves, we tend to have to work a little bit to allow all of this knowledge, all of this light to settle into our body, to embody all of the light. So we work through that. We understand that process. We might feel it physically, we might purge it, we might feel it emotionally, but ultimately we are being upgraded and we are having this new knowledge completely, these new operating systems settle completely into our multidimensional being. And as that happens, that information settles into our being. So, whatever knowledge we are required to know from here on out is already within us. And when the moment comes when we have to turn to that knowledge, or we must know that knowledge, that light will shine on, and we will recall the knowledge, we will remember. Therefore, today is Good Friday in the Christian religions or in the Catholic religions. I don't know if it's both. Quite frankly, I don't. It's not that I don't care. It's just I don't follow it as closely anymore, and I'm all right with that because I've transcended needing a religion or a medium in between God and myself. So I just go right to the source and pull, and then learn that, like, wait, that source is within me. I don't need to go to church and sit there all for a Good Friday too. Remember? I don't know if y'all remember this, but I can remember, like, when it was a Good Friday, and it's such a different reaction to where I am today with it. But and this is the difference in religion, like Good Friday, you're like, oh man, that's a long mass. It's like they get the palms out and they lay them down and like the Holy Week to me was always like, oh shit, that's a really long mass. Mass is boring. And and yet there was this tiny thread of how I of the religion that I took with me. And when my life kind of like fell through fell apart, the first thing I did was went to the beach and literally I think I was on my knees and prayed. And that is when, like, in that moment, a sacred switch went on, and I started to feel more of the sacredness and spirituality more than the knowledge of religion. And I was really intrigued with that sacred feeling. I remember being on that beach in Sullivan's Island. I wrote about it in my book Soul Mama. I'm not trying to give myself a plug, but I really did write a book, and there was it was like it was a mystical experience when I heard my voice, my inner voice for the first time and was aware of it. And in that moment, something was triggered, a sacredness was triggered, and I don't know if I've chased it, but I have nurtured it. Not chased it. I have nurtured that sacred for many years. And what I've learned as I went through my journey and found different spiritual communities that I absolutely loved, still the Sunday ritual of going to a community and sitting in the sacred nature of that community and reveling in what I'm grateful for and hearing a good message. And I unfortunately, throughout my journey with churches and things like that, I just kept get not I kept didn't keep getting burned, but I kept seeing evidence of consciousnesses that weren't quite in relation or a mirror for who I was. So I've walked away, and for a long time was haven't been associated with a spiritual community. And last year, when our life was changing so drastically, and Bud and I went to Mexico, it was the first time that I got like a mission driven call within to just listen and do what we ask you to do if you are willing. And we're going to ask you to do a Sunday sunrise message and deliver this message every Sunday for 3 months. And for that 3 months, I would show up in Mexico at 7 a.m. I'd go out and set up my computer and do just this. But I had nobody on there. But what it was about for me is bringing the sacred back to Sunday, because I've always loved Sundays in my adult life for some reason, where most people are like, oh, Sunday, work is tomorrow. I'm like, man, like Sunday's such a sacred day. And now I've expanded into the sacredness of every day, because really Sunday was a day that I could find to hold sacred, because the rest of the week was just so crazy all the time that I would forget to tune into the sacredness. So this being Good Friday, it has nothing to do with the religion or the religious aspects of today, but it has to do with yesterday we called in peace. We got still together and we called in peace. And I have to tell y'all, like today I have felt peace, like viscerally. I've seen peace and I experienced it. And I'd like to just give you a little bit of a storehouse story about how that all unfolded, because I got a withdrawal, and it was an amazing experience to be part of. But Bud and I got up today and we went outside, and we were both at the same time like, whoa, it just feels different. It's like so peaceful. And we stopped there for a minute, and what we realized was we've been hammered by wind for 2 weeks, and storms and wind, and the wind just like has been howling for 2 weeks. Just you get beat up when you go out, to the point where like, okay, I gotta go in. It's like your hair is everywhere, it's in your mouth and in your eyes, and it's just uncomfortable. And today the wind was just, and immediately I was like, isn't that funny? We did a collective meditation or affirmative prayer to call in stillness and peace yesterday. And I was like, and it's kind of here, it's in our atmosphere. So I kind of put that in my brain. I was like, that's interesting. And then we walked downtown. We had both dogs on leashes. And Bud and I, we went down to the beach, and this woman came up, and I recognized her before because she was coming up to Pepe. And for if you're new here, Pepe is a dog that adopted us like a month and a half ago. We have tried all different ways to get rid of this dog, and yet he just keeps showing up, and he just keeps listening, and he just keeps like showing us that he is so grateful to be with us. So now he's got a leash, because he was getting a little territorial for of us and protective, and it was kind of annoying. And he's so we've been training him. I was like, if you're going to be with us, you got to at least have some manners when we go downtown. You can't be barking at people and dogs and carrying on and causing a ruckus. So he's doing really well. But and in our walks, I've noticed this woman that has called out to him, but he doesn't want to go to her. And he's been off leash before, and he will just stick next to me, but I can tell that she adores him. Well, we ran into her today, and she sat down. She was a beautiful Albanian, babushka grandma, and doesn't know a lick of English. And yet she sat down and she says, "I love this dog." And I said, "Is he yours? Because if he is, you take him." And she said, "No, he loves you." And she was trying to tell me his story. She was crying, and she was showing me pictures of him. And I kept saying, "You take him home." And she said, "No, he needs to be with you." Because apparently she's got cats, and he hates cats. We do know that. And he just like I mean, he's a terror to them. And she said, "He's better off being with your dog." But she was so sad, is like sad but happy. And I said, we're here, we'll come visit. And she said, "You here?" And she said, you come to my home, and you bring the dogs, and we go to the beach at my home." And she lives just over the mountainside right here. And anyway, like it was a lot of energy because of the language barrier, and having to this was the interesting thing, y'all. You guys, you all will appreciate this, not you guys. Um, in because of the language barrier, but we were both going deep. We both knew we had this little dog that was, very lovely to both of us. But she like I you like had to be really tuned in, like, to understand. And I was really drained afterwards. But we got through it. And it turns out, like, she's like, "You call my son." So she called her son so he could translate a little bit for us. Turns out, I was just telling Bud, I'm like, "I need a dentist. I need to get my teeth cleaned, and got some dental work being done." And she said, "My son's a dentist." And I was like, "Oh." So I called him, like, "By the way, I need a teeth cleaning." He's like, "You'll come in today. I'll give it to you for free because you're taking this dog of my mom's," basically, was what he was saying. He's like, "She loves him, but she can't have him. We need somebody to take him." And he's like, "You come here," like, and I felt like it was like a typical, adult kid just being like, "Just take the damn dog from my mom. I'll clean your teeth. I'll do your dental work. Just take this dog." So I think he's been the ruckus for them. But she was so sweet. And now we got invited to an Albanian, home, and we're working out the details of that. But it was such a moment of, and the other piece of the beauty of it was that I haven't been able to really embrace, like, that I have that we've adopted him, because then there's been something back here that is like, is he yours to adopt? Like, I don't is it good for him to take him off the streets? I can tell it is, because I see evidence of it. But I knew that he was taken care of, and you could tell. And so to meet the person and finally get permission to adopt him officially into our family was like the most beautiful. She and I hugged it out, and we just like we had a good beautiful moment. And it was a storehouse moment that was, yes, it's not like sometimes we think, "Oh, we have the money from the storehouse," but this is what money is. We're getting a free dental cleaning. Like, I don't have to pay for that. I got dental work that needs to be done. He's going to do that. And if he does do it and he needs payment, it's going to be $30, because we've had other friends who are like, "There's a really good dentist in town. He's called Ohana Dentist." And Liza, if you're watching, I thought of you, because I'm like, "Oh, little Hawaii, Ohana Dentist." And it turns out that's her son. Like, that's her son. So there's like these beautiful connections being made today, and all in the stillness of this. Like, the sun was out, and it was so beautiful. So all of that to say, like, it was an amazingly sacred day. And as I sat on the beach after she left, and we were just kind of like laughing, Bud and I were laughing about the coincidences of it, the whole thing. And as I sat there, I was like, honey, this is so sacred. It's Good Friday. And, and there's something really good. And whether it's in the Bible or whether it's in my brain or in my heart, when something says like, God made the plant, the earth, and it was good. God made the light and it was good. And I always come back to that because I've tried to reach those higher levels of expectations that I have for myself, but I finally gotten to the point where, you know what? The sacred itself said it's okay for everything to be good. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to over exceed people's expectations, but it usually does if it is just good, right? So today being a sacred and good day, I'd like to come back into a sacred space, because what I'm finding in this 90 days is it feels like it's less about us gaining more knowledge and allowing that knowledge to be utilized to spark every single day a new evolution of this plot twist that we have already intentionalized, and we have put it into the hands of the sacred itself, the source, God, nature, whatever it is, whatever you throw, throw your intentions, toss your intentions to, be like, can you take care of this? Thanks God, thanks universe, thanks God, universe, spirit. Thank you to my sacred source, the source of all the storehouses, of all of our storehouses. That source has already received the intentions that we have put our time and our effort, meaning the work that we have done to rise up into the acceptance and the receptivity to receive that higher reality. That's already been tossed to the source, and all we need to do now, the source is getting us ready to receive it. And we are receiving it in the form of sun rays. We're receiving it in the form of new knowledge and new understandings and new connections and new observations of our storehouse coming into our reality. And we are starting to now understand more and more that we are in already the reality, the timeline that is ascending us into the higher expression. We're already there. Therefore, these 90 days is teaching us now how to be in the patience of receptivity and receiving all of the nuggets, all of the beauty, all of the possibilities that the storehouse has to offer, while we sit in acceptance and receptivity and notice the storehouse withdrawals. And we sit there on beaches with old babushka Albanian ladies who and cry with them and just say we like and express love. We had, a mutual love. We were unified in that moment. It was a sacred, sacred moment. I noticed, and I said, thanks. I got this. I noticed that was a really cool little part of my movie. Thanks. That was really sweet. I would like more of that, please. And therefore, with it being so good, we've gotten another solar flare. With that being so good, what I'd like to do today is just have a couple of minutes of sacred affirmations or sacred prayer, affirmative prayer, for us to call in and notice the sacred and all of the good in our lives that are happening, that is being sparked right now on this Good Friday, and being and being amplified by this beautiful solar flare. And these solar flares come in pretty immediately because they have such high speeds. Like some of them are 2 million 2 million miles an hour. I'm like, I don't even know how to process that, but it comes in really fast. So it'll be interesting to see what we can create right now by just coming together. If you would just allow yourself to come into a beautiful sacred moment. If you want to close your outer eyes, if you're driving, if you're just simply being, just listen, and allowing yourself to tune into the I am presence that is so deeply within you, that is all good, that is all perfect, perfectly good in its imperfect and beautiful expression of source, of God, of nature. And allowing that I am presence to connect in with the I am presence of everybody on this live, as well as those who will be coming in on the recordings, because every consciousness is not a linear time thing. Consciousness is co-created, And this beautiful moment is being co-created, this sacred moment. And in this moment, no matter what you have going on around you, I hear trucks in the background. In my world, I hear people, I hear life, and all parts of life are sacred. And I just simply affirm that we are all one in this unified, beautiful space. Our I am presence is coming together to be a divine expression of the one unified I am presence that is source, that is God, nature, Mother, Father, God. It is all. It is everything. And this piece of everything is within you. And knowing that you are a divine expression of this one source, the source of all. Allow your heart to expand as it just tunes into the magnitude of what that means. When you connect in to the essence of who you are, and you are tuned in then to the infinite nature of who you are at the core, does that not reverberate and resonate through all parts of you? Your emotional self expands at the knowledge of how sacred you are, that you are a unique expression of the Creator itself. Your emotional and energetic body starts to expand. The container of who you are starts to expand as you realize the magnitude of the sacred nature of who you are. And allowing that then to come into your physical reality, knowing that everything in your physical reality is a direct reflection of the expansive nature of who you are. Now, remember that as you start to expand all parts of you, so too does your physical world. As you are integrating into that multidimensional being in this moment, you are now integrated. And from that integrated space, the expansion happens to all parts of you, which then balances the growth, steadies the growth on this beautiful, good, and sacred Holy Week. Allowing your breath with every in-breath expand deeply, and see or feel, sense yourself expanding in the receptivity of who you are. And with every out-breath, allowing yourself to come to a 0 point, that place where no energy goes out, no other energy comes in. You are simply in the presence of the now moment, which is the only sacred moment that exists. And in the sacred moment, here you are. Allowing yourself to expand even more, even more. And in this expansion, you will start to notice more and more of your storehouse that is opening up. You will start to receive, notice, observe, and participate, experience more and more moments of synchronistic storehouse payouts. You'll notice that different people come into your world. They may look different, they may feel different, you may sense them to be just a little bit different because they are. This is your team coming into physical form, delivering these storehouse payments to you. Payments are not always how you have always known it in the old paradigm, so we release all attachments to that old paradigm. And allow yourself, bless you, honey, and allow yourself to come up in higher resonance, into a higher frequency, into a higher perspective, so that you are able to see all the ways the sacred payouts of your karmic storehouse are coming to you. And they are also coming to you through messengers, through people, through beautiful synchronistic meetings. You can now start to expect that this will be your case from here on out. In this moment, starting now, your beautiful expanded container is now receiving things it has never received before, both in higher frequencies as well as in higher synchronicities and higher possibilities. Pay attention, sweet soul, because all around you is your storehouse waiting to be received. Allow it to settle in. Allow it to be. Allow it to be as sacred of a process as you are. Our currency of how we are paid in our spiritual and physical lives, our currency is based on our frequency, of your frequency. So your currency now is rising and rising and rising in the sacred moment with every breath breathed from here on out throughout your day. With every breath breathed in, you expand your container. And with every breath out, you simply come back to a 0 point in this now moment, ready to expand into a higher reality. Your reality rises and rises throughout the day. And with each rise, it meets in more sacred and sacred frequency. And throughout the rest of this holy week, you will be reminded, you will be shown, and you will be remembering how sacred you are. Thank you, sweet soul, for bringing your consciousness here, for co creating this beautiful moment of sacred, sacred, collective, intentional prayer. Now release this prayer, this affirmative prayer, knowing it is already done in the realm of the quantum field. And therefore, we just simply rise up, rise up, rise up, each and every one of us to the higher frequency that we all resonate into, the higher frequency of the reality that we are in. And yet, when we open our eyes, we will be in a brand new reality. And that reality will be higher, even more sacred than the one that we entered in. And we will give thanks for every moment from here on out that we recognize our storehouse being open and our storehouse being delivered into our physical lives. I release this, I let this go, I let this be, and I know that it is already done, and yet abracadabra, so it is. Here we are. All right, thank you, sweet souls. Come on back to this moment. Thank you for allowing me to have this. The last 2 days, the last two daily tune-ins have been very sweet to me, very gentle, and uh, I really like it. I like kind of the little plot twist that we had. That I thought it was we were going to be here getting, information that we can go and go do every day, and yet there have been some days that have been intensely delivering, new knowledge, and but what I'm finding is that we're having more days of being in the sacred space of embodying, the quiet space of embodying that knowledge and looking for evidence and really becoming, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, really fine tuning the skill sets of listening and hearing what's coming in and understanding that it's all upgrading us into a higher expression of ourselves. So we're behaving differently, we're thinking differently, we are feeling differently, and it's coming up into a higher momentum now, into a higher octave. So we are tonally um uh rising up. So everything is shifting. Everything, your five senses may be sensing differently. You might have to get used to, like, your ears. You might, like, be more sensitive to things. Your taste, like things. I had something the other day. I forget what it was, but I was like, oh, like, it's like something I usually love. What was it? I took a sip and I'm like, oh, I don't what? And so, like, it's weird, like, all of a sudden a taste will be different. Eyesight might be different. We're adjusting to these higher frequencies, which means, like, in a higher frequency, everything shifts. So we everything is adjusting to and acclimating to the higher frequencies, and at the same time, we're still rising up, and we will be. Like, this is kind of old news now. I feel like big energies coming in, like, get ready. Like, this is just our world now. Like, that we are in that orbit for the rest of our lifetime. We are going to be in these higher frequencies. So I think we understand enough to know, like, yes, that's always going to be part of our lives, which is acclimating and integrating and ascending. And at the same time, also remembering that with every elevation in frequency, with every elevation in knowledge and consciousness, we are still finding more and more evidence of how sacred life is. We are getting back to the fully sacred part of life, and that feels so natural to me, and it feels so beautiful to me, and I appreciate it. So to be here and to be delivering this with my voice feels like a really special moment in this moment. So I want to thank you all for being here. In the pin post up top, I did have, there was this beautiful book. I can't remember the book, but it was by Edwin Gaines, and I remember we studied it. I've studied it in different classes and spiritual classes that I've taken. Um, but she talks about tithing to the place where you receive your spiritual food. And it always resonated with me because I could, like, the whole donation thing at church was always kind of, weird, and, tithe 10%, which they, would always read out of the Bible. But she explained it in a way that was like, which was sacred. And I resonated so deeply with it. And I remember her, this is my interpretation of it. But when God opens up the storehouse and allows it to come in, you bring that in simply because the storehouse is only opened when you match the frequency of it. So if you match like the tip of it, it'll pour out a little bit, but as you rise up, your storehouse will pay out a lot more. And your storehouse is the payment structure of your, so to speak, of your spiritual life, of it is your karmic account, your karmic storage. And in order to have some of your karmic storage, come out, you have to be spiritually aware. And we become more spiritually aware by nurturing our spiritual self. And here on the daily tune in, it really is tuning into the spiritual and most sacred part of us. And we do that using the portal of energies and how can we take advantage of our growth. But at the same time, we are also connecting back in. So if you feel that you get some spiritual food here and your storehouse opens up, maybe that storehouse wouldn't have opened up that much, or delivered if you hadn't been here. And so all I ask is if you do get a monetary storehouse, or you get anything, actually, I'm open to trading and bartering and all kinds of cool stuff. But if you do get something, but I'm also human, and I do have things that I've got to monetarily support. So if you do feel called when you do get a surprise lump that may not have arrived if you hadn't been spiritually fed, then please consider giving some of your your lump to this platform and myself for donation. I do show up here, and I do a really I know the effort that I give, and I do give an effort, and I think y'all know that. So if you feel called to return that, and in little donations or big donations or whatever, we're looking for a sprinter van to road trip around Europe. So if somebody's got one of those they want to donate, I'll take one of those. If you got like a summer house in Italy and you're like, I like this girl, I'll give her a weekend at my summer house. I'll take that too. Like there is no donation that I won't consider. So I'm not just talking money here, but a beautiful, opportunity or connection, or something that is a payment from you would be really great. This is getting awkward because I don't ask for things very well when it comes to money, but at the same time, I'm showing up here every day, and I feel like we do have a good connection. So thank you for letting me babble about that horrible ask. But I'm not here for the money, but I do need money. So I think y'all know that. Love you so much. Spent way too much time on that. It's funny. It's like when I get awkward about things that I have a hard time like walking away from it because I want to make it right, but I'm gonna just keep making it worse. So anyway, let's see what you guys are doing. Good morning, shining souls. We are relearning all that was taught out of us. Yeah, exactly, Christine. I was there on Sunday. I know, Mary, sometimes you were the only one on Sunrise Sundays. I was glad about that. That's so funny, though. But it's still on my YouTube channel. You can go back and see like, some beautiful scenery that I did Sunrise Sundays from. That was such a messy part of life, too. Um, it's about a relationship with our Creator. That authenticity of gratitude you had is pure. That is what is truly about. Also, hello, hello. I don't know. I don't know how. HA. Hello. I'm glad. Thank you for that. And yes, I agree. It is like just that whole relationship thing has just been such a beautiful over this past year, but it took some really hard times to just kind of come back to that relationship and that trust and be like, like I still call it God because it's just so ingrained, and I finally have like reframed it enough that I feel good with it. But a lot of times I call it Gus. I'm like, Gus, man, I feel really crappy. Like I don't know how to figure this out, this mess. So I'm just my trust and my sacred time with God really just got me through this past year, and just sitting there. Universal Tetris. Oh, I like that. Divinely timed on this Friday of good things. Tony the Tiger's great. Michelle, I like your energy this morning. Isabel says, thank you. What a beautiful prayer intention call. Thanks, Isabel. Yeah, it felt good. Yes, uploads have been very quiet. Yeah, it's really quieted down. Isn't that funny, Christine? And I think, actually, it was Alana. I feel like I remember seeing you, Christine, say something like the winds died down, but and that may have been Alana at our Ascension Bank Telegram chat. There was someone else, or maybe two people, that mentioned a quiet calm. And all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, that seems like what we're being called to do. Like everything's is calming down and it's calm here. So maybe it's time for us just to sit. So downloads have been quiet, just a time to feel the blessings of the knowledge we already have before the newer things come. Yeah. The vision part resonates. I've worn glasses for 20 years and I've been needing them less the last couple of weeks. Oh, interesting, Jessica. I like that. I have not needed glasses, and all of a sudden, like I can see like my vision. I'm trying not to how to say it. I would like to see my vision improve. It's been weird because I'm like, what's going on here? Why is my vision being all weird? And I'm noticing that I'm sure some of it's from the changes that we're in, but it's also interesting to pay attention to. So I like that you have seen an improvement. So um, I'm gonna echo that. That'll be my affirmation. This morning, puppy needs a proper haircut. I don't know how to use the sheets properly. Neighbor couldn't make spring rolls yesterday. They have shears and knowledge to teach. Boom exchange. Oh, okay. Puppy needs a proper haircut. I don't know how to use the sheets properly. Neighbor couldn't make spring rolls yesterday. They have shears. Oh, and knowledge to teach. Oh, to with the puppy. Okay, yeah. So there's that trade thing going on. Yeah, there's something cool happening here with that kind of stuff because and I've mentioned it on Instagram a couple times. Our friend downstairs is a professional spear fisherman. So he goes out because he's got to get content for Instagram, So he's got to go fishing, and then he comes back with fish. And then he's also been working in restaurants for a lot of his years. So he cooks up amazing things, and he brings it to Bud, and like so all of a sudden we have this like fish that just show up, and there's people down on the promenade down there that sell fish, but we don't need to buy fish because we just have it delivered every day pretty much. And then there was something else that we needed, and someone Bud was working it out, and he was like, I'll just deliver it to you. We're like, what? We're like royalty. People are just bringing stuff to us, and just like it's so amazing how it's all working out. So yeah, like that 5D thing we've been hearing about, like, oh, it's bartering and trading. That's why I can't wait to get out of this money thing. So I mean, I don't know if we ever will be. I don't know how that'll work, but I just like, you feel good about someone, you give them something, and come over to my house and have a good meal and let me serve you for, and like that's how I want to trade. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling at this point, y'all. So I'm gonna let you go, and I'm gonna let myself go and let myself off the hook from being a little bit rambly. But thank you for being here. Bud's laughing because I ramble quite a bit and I end up annoying him sometimes. He's like, baby, you gotta stop talking. And I said, okay. So I'm gonna stop talking. Having a beautiful, beautiful, sacred, sacred weekend. Whatever you have going on, allow yourself. This is the message that's going to carry us through the next 2 days, or the next 3 days until Monday when we come back live. So that tells me that this being in the reverence of the sacred is really important. So just pay attention and just honor those moments where you're like, oh, and it might be just a simple, oh, and it might just be like an hour of like, my heart's expanding. So just allow yourself to be in the expansive nature of your container, because the sacred is always the thing that blows the heart wide open. I'm getting the sense that there might be a lot of that in these next 2 days. And with all of this activity, it's going to be intensified. So when bliss and a blown open heart gets intensified, it can feel a little bit similar to fear a little bit. It can be like, oh my gosh, I can't handle this much. And so remember, you have the ability at any time when that's happening to be like, okay, I shut it down. And then that's when it's not shut it down, but slow it down a little bit. Just ask your guides, like, slow it down. And then you just sit and allow it to settle in, and allow yourself to embody it. But it might be an intense weekend because I feel like it's going to be overly sacred, or not overly, but greatly sacred for some reason. So just pay attention. And for the Ascension Bank members, we will be on our the incubator people see you tomorrow on Saturday. And I love our Telegram chat that we have for the Ascension Bank members. That it's becoming such a sacred place for me to go. Actually, now that I say that out loud, and to go and just read what you all are seeing in your world. There's sharing going on about, oh, my storehouse just opened, or look at the sky in my area. And there's a lot of really intelligent conversation, and we're getting everybody's different perspectives of this very moment that we're in. And that Telegram chat is becoming really, really vital to my peace when I'm online. I usually end my online stuff with that. So that tells you something, that it is a peaceful and beautiful space that we've got going on there, y'all. So thank you for helping me with that. And thank you for bringing your presence, because you guys kind of keep it going and it's so beautiful. So that is all I've got. Thank God. Love to you all. I will see you and talk to you very, very soon. Mwah. Very, very soon. I don't know why I said that. I'm so goofy. Hey.